again. Welcome into 1017 FM and 710 Keel. Welcome into another edition of Strategies for Living. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan, grinning like a chessy cat down there at the other end of the broadcast table. PLPC, Carla McCormick. How you doing, Carla girl?
I'm doing great. You know I get happy when we have company.
The question is, are you going to behave yourself?
Well,
That's the real question. Ruben Wright, our ace producer, keeps us flying high, low, and in between. Got his, you notice where his pointed finger is.
At me?
No, his pointy finger is on the button.
Oh. Yeah, I'm on the.
He's on the dump button.
I am on the dump button.
Yeah.
Make sure that I behave myself.
That's exactly. You got to behave. Let me ask both of you a question. Since you've already spilled the beans that we've got guests in the house.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, Ruben, what were you doing in 1958?
Oh, gosh, I can't even remember.
You weren't even thought of.
He wasn't even a twinkle in his.
Not in his. No, his. I hate you. What were you doing in 1958?
I was just a twinkle also.
I hate you too. Well, I wasn't a twinkle. I was here. But you know what else came about in 1958? CADA. CADA, the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana, and we're going to talk to them today. We do have some folks
Happy anniversary
from CADA in the house. The 60th anniversary, the annual dinner's coming up. I know you're excited. We're going to talk about Marsha, and much, much more, because the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse, it's a jewel. It is a jewel in our community.
We talk about that often, how lucky we are to have an organization like CADA in a city our size.
Susan Garcia, Susan Reeks, Kit Gamble, all with us today as our life strategist. They will we'll introduce each one of them when we come back. But let me say first, folks, thank you for tuning into Strategies for Living. We are presented by CADA, the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana, been helping individuals and families for 60 years now. We're also presented by Jerry Anderson, State Farm Insurance, by Learning RX, by Highland Place Rehab and Nursing Center, by Jacob's Well, Inspirational Books and Gifts, and by Resilient House. Back in a moment. CADA's in the house. We'll be back. Strategies for Living. Stay right where you are. You find a tune from 1958. Is that what you did? Welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for a Living. You're going to make me go into my DJ voice there, Ruben Wright. Welcome back into Strategies for a Living. 1017 FM, 710 KEEL, marriage and family therapist David McMillan, PLPC Carla McCormick. Let's welcome to the program now our life strategist this evening, the Director of Marketing and Development at the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana. She's also involved in program development as the director, involved in outreach and producing all events for CADA. Miss Susan Reeks. Miss Reeks, welcome to Strategies. How you doing?
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. And you brought along the accounts payable manager for CADA. She is Susan Garcia. She's also the supervisor of logistics and purchasing, involved with especially the CADA Connection. We'll talk about what that is. That's the alumni group of CADA. Anybody who's been involved in treatment with CADA gets involved in the CADA Connection. Susan is a former client, 5.5 years of sobriety. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Went into treatment, did treatment in 2012, and now working for this wonderful organization of CADA. So, Ms. Garcia, welcome. Welcome to Strategies.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, absolutely. And the immediate past president of the board of the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana, been involved for 7 or 8 years now. Mr. Kit Gamble, he is himself a recovering alcoholic. His family, you can't be in Shreveport and not, you say the Gambles and the nursing homes, the nursing home business, the healthcare business.
Well, thank you.
Been involved in the family nursing home business for years, and now I was so excited to find out tonight you're developing a treatment center, you and your family, over in the Ruston, Louisiana area.
That's right. We're very excited about it.
Been in healthcare 43 years.
That's right.
And probably feels like a year or so, right?
It does. Just yesterday.
Married to Lisa with 4 children, 2 stepchildren, 7 grandchildren, and 1 on the way.
That's right.
Mr. Kit Gamble. Mr. Gamble, welcome.
Thank you, David. I'm glad to be here.
So, Susan Reeks, I guess I'm going to have to say Susan Reeks, Susan Garcia. Susan Reeks, Carla has just been running me nuts, okay? She's been running around here. Marsha is all she can say.
I'm excited.
This girl is so excited. So the CADA's 60th annual anniversary dinner is coming up. 6 decades of hope is
Right.
the theme. But even more important, I don't know how you guys do it, but every year it seems that at the anniversary annual dinner, it seems like you top yourself every year with the featured special guest. This year, Maureen McCormick. Marsha from the Brady Bunch.
Can I say that I'm related to her?
Are you really?
No, but I would like to say it.
So next Wednesday at the Shreveport Convention Center is the annual dinner. Maureen McCormick, you certainly know her from the Brady Bunch. What you may not know is that she's in recovery. How many years sobriety does?
36 years.
36 years. So she's going to have a lot to share with us, isn't she?
Yes, she is. And, when you think back on everything Maureen has been through, starting out on a program, the Brady Bunch, that everyone, they remember fondly if they were a fan, but we all laugh about the Brady Bunch. But
Yeah.
the show was revolutionary. It was very well produced, very well acted.
It was, yeah.
And I think some of the things that Maureen encountered with people trying to keep her in that 15-year-old Marsha Brady role led to some of the problems that she had.
Yeah.
And she ended up using the drugs and things that I haven't heard the terms of in years, like Quaaludes, and but she was, and of course cocaine, and was deeply embedded in it, but found her life, found her husband Michael, who helped her get through it.
Wow.
And today she's here to tell her story.
And so we'll hear that story. We will all hear that story next Wednesday night. The doors open at the Shreveport Convention Center at 5:30. The program begins at 6:30. And we're invited to, I can't wait to see what Carla's going to do. Your favorite ensemble from the past 6 decades. So
Right.
you pick your
Whatever that means to you, David.
your poison,
Is the
right?
leisure suit still hanging in your closet?
You know, I think I've got those green hush puppies that go with that leisure suit. You know,
I would kill
I
for
bet
that.
you do, and you probably have a white belt too.
yeah. You remember you remember the white shoes?
Oh,
yeah. No, I wish I did have. But honestly, if those were still in my closet, my son would have long since absconded with them. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how people interpret that. It's always been a more business casual kind of event, never a black tie event. And of course, this is the 60th, so it's a little more special. So whatever that means, if it's a little black dress like Audrey Hepburn, or I know one of our staff members is coming as Janis Joplin.
Oh,
So
wow.
a lot of the girls even did the I Love Lucy dress with petticoat, and I'm coming as Mary Tyler Moore.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah, so
You've made it after all.
I will be running
She
around
can turn
all
the world
night,
on with her smile.
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, Mr. Grant." So that's what I chose to do. But I can't wait to see what everybody chooses, and it's just going to be a fun event.
So when you look at Kit, when you think about the word that comes to me is impact. I mean, when you think about CADA and what it has meant to this community, the word impact just, pardon the pun, impacts me.
Oh, it's amazing, and it's people from all walks of life are affected. Every socioeconomic level has been helped by CADA. People who were down on their luck, and CADA helped them, and others who are physicians and lawyers. CADA's helped people from all walks of life and help their families, and CADA's probably the only organization that has a program that helps mothers and who are addicted and takes care of their children along with them while they're taking care of their addiction. It's just a fabulous service.
When CADA opened its doors, 1958, 60 years ago, there wasn't a lot available. Do we know much about does anybody at the table know much about the history, how it came to be, Susan?
Well, you can't talk about CADA without talking about Dan J. Talley.
Oh my goodness! And see, Dan was such instrumental in the beginning of this. This program is not near 60 years old. I guess I'd have had to start it when I was 1. But the show is 25 years old. Actually, working on 26 years now. And Dan Talley, in the very beginning of this program, he was almost a co-host. That's how often he came on. He helped us launch.
When you talk to someone who knew Dan Talley, who went in his office just deeply struggling with alcoholism, and the way he talked them into the program, and which was largely the marketing was just spread through AA at that time.
Right.
And but you can see how moved people were and how good he was at what he did.
Yes. You know, when I first became aware of Dan, I think I was in high school, and I think for my senior project, I did for whatever reason, I did a report on alcoholism, and I got told 2 names. And Kid, I bet you'll remember, at Schumpert Hospital, Sister Germaine. You remember?
I remember
her.
Uh-huh.
And Dan Talley.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the 2 names that I was told. And wow, again, impact. So was Dan instrumental in the beginning of
He is the beginning.
He is the beginning
He started
of CADA.
it. There was no money, and over the years they struggled. What little money was coming in from the state or other places, none of it came to CADA, and he pulled together a group of city business leaders, because of course everybody was drinking then, you know, and
sure.
Some people weren't handling it as well as others, and he drew them in and got the board going, and they started actually doing some organized fundraising over the years, and really the board that CADA had over the years was instrumental into getting it to be run like a business and have a budget and have a financial statement and things that had never happened when it first started.
So here's the amazing thing. What started, I guess, probably around a table with Dan Talley has evolved into 14 programs. We're going to talk about some of those this evening. 14 programs. It's run out of 4 separate facilities, along with operating a school, the CADA school. And we had Dr. Kent Dean on
Right.
week before last,
Couple.
talking about the CADA and the school, and it's he made an announcement that okay, we're moving outside, we're going down to Central Louisiana, we're
Going to
covering
Baton Rouge,
going to
aren't
Baton
they?
Rouge, we're covering Louisiana now with education. Does that amaze you? You know, you've been involved in healthcare a long time, Kit. Does that kind of growth? I mean, 60 years maybe to some people sounds like a long time. Maybe to you and I, it doesn't seem like that long. Does that amaze you that that kind of growth in 60 years?
It amazes me, and it amazes me for any organization just to keep going that long. I mean, it just tells you the good that CADA does in the community for CADA to be around for 60 years. There aren't many organizations that last that long, that's for sure.
Prevention, education, treatment, been going on since 1958. CADA and the supporters have helped thousands of people find hope and a path to recovery. We're talking about the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana this evening on Strategies. We'll be right back.
I don't care how much money I gotta spend.
appropriate.
What do I look like, Moon Griffon or something? What's the deal? Welcome back into Strategies for Living 101. Moon does all that CCR stuff. You may or may not have known that.
I think I do. You just reminded me that.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
He does do the CCR stuff.
He's way more handsome than I am. I have a face for radio. Moon.
I don't even know what he looks like.
Moon, handsome guy.
I really don't know.
Yeah, handsome guy.
I mean, you don't talk too good, though.
Yeah, no, he talked like you Cajun. Welcome back into Strategies for Living. We're not talking about Moon today. We're talking about KEEL here on Strategies. Welcome back into 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL, PLPC. Carla McCormick, marriage and family therapist David McMillan, and Susan Reeks, Kit Gamble, Susan Garcia from the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana are here as our life strategists this evening. Big 60th anniversary annual dinner a week from tonight, next Wednesday night, October the 10th, at the Shreveport Convention Center. The keynote speaker, Maureen McCormick. You know her as, of course, Marcia Brady from TV's classic The Brady Bunch, and more recently from Dancing with the Stars. And she's got a story to tell. She's got a story of her own struggle with substance use and how all the issues surrounding addiction have changed over the decades. So we've got a lot. There's going to be a lot that's going to be discussed. It's not too late, Susan Reeks, to get your ticket, right?
That's right. You can go to our website at CADANWLA.org. That's CADANWLA.org, like Northwest Louisiana. And just this right there on the homepage where you can click on there and buy your tickets and buy
Now
your
you can buy
tables.
single seats. You can reserve if you want to come as a group. You can come and reserve a table.
Right, and get your name on the table, and if you want your business name on the table, we can do that. And but it's going to be a fun group of people. That there are going to be a lot of stories there about recovery, and there's going to be no one in that room that's going to leave with a dry eye and
What a
without
night.
laughing. I mean, it's going to be a fun night.
What a night! So we were talking, Susan Garcia, about impact, and talking about impact. Kata had an impact on your life, big time, right?
That's right.
What's
That's
your
right.
story? What went on with you?
So I started drinking and using different types of drugs when I was 12.
Wow.
And I had one of those childhoods where I was moved around a lot, and and so I just didn't get those basic life skills that kids need, and lots of trauma and dramatic things happened throughout that time, and that was what I did. I used the drugs and the alcohol to cope with all of those things, and it just carried on throughout my teenage years.
It takes on a life of its own, doesn't
absolutely.
it? Yeah.
It became that the thing that I did to deal with everything. And up until
of course, you start that young. You were bulletproof.
Right.
You don't think.
Right. It was my survival skill.
Sure.
Yeah. And it took me all the way to the point into my 30s where I couldn't deal with life at all without doing something,
Right.
And so after multiple arrests and spending time in jail and losing my kids and my family and just nobody
We
wanting
never
to
know
have
where the
anything.
bottom is, do we?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. So the last time I got arrested, I was lucky enough to get set down long enough to decide to do something different, and I was lucky. I didn't know anything about
Recovery or how to get better.
or how to get help or anything like that. And I was lucky that the judge in Sabine Parish, Judge Stephen Beasley, he knew about CADA. And he offered to send me there, and I agreed to go, and I went in December of 2012, and I was able to stay there for 90 days, and it made a huge impact on my decision making process. I mean, I decided that, you know, they helped me come to terms with what was going on with me, and
so you went into inpatient
I did.
treatment,
I went into inpatient treatment,
which is one of the many programs. There's 14 different programs. That's one of the programs operated across 4 facilities that are available
right
at CADA.
I have a quick question. When you went into treatment, were you going into treatment to get sober or to get out of trouble?
I was going. Okay, I had full knowledge that I had a drug problem, and I wanted to stop doing drugs. I had no intentions of stopping the drinking whenever I went into treatment, but while I was there, I was taught the concept about addictive personalities and you know, and addiction, and how it all kind of intertwines with each other. And before I left there, I knew that I could not leave there and drink successfully without using drugs, without it leading back to that. And I made a decision that I was gonna do something different, and I was gonna, whatever suggestions or whatever I needed to do to make that happen is what I was gonna do.
So they gave you your hope back.
They did. They did.
You know, one thing that Susan has said that really hit me was that all during her childhood she kept asking herself, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And what we really should have been asking was, what happened to her?
Yes, yes. You know, that's one of the things. The cause of addiction really hasn't changed a lot through the years, but there's been so much research and evidence-based treatment. We understand the disease so much better now, and that's continuing. And CADA's right in the mix of that. So to have that available to you, Susan, wasn't that phenomenal?
It was. It was phenomenal. And I just couldn't believe, you know, like, that there was something like this there all the time. Like, and how did we not know about it? And that's why I love so much that now we're really kicking off this prevention, education, you know, line of our
that's the new program. That's one of the newest programs that's really involved. It's designed to really kick education in and provide prevention information, providing that information and education, kicking it into high gear. Would that be safe to say?
To me, it's kind of in 2 areas. It's prevention. You want to try to prevent people from going down this road. If they've been through trauma, if we could identify that trauma-based treatment, it actually works. But the other thing is stigma. That's one of the biggest obstacles we have, is that people who don't understand addiction, they just think, stop. Why don't you just stop? It's a choice.
Yeah. And Susan, could you have? I mean, was there?
No, look, I'll tell you, there was so much despair. I could literally go to bed and just pray and just be begging, like, please help me stop. I don't know how to, I'm not going to do this tomorrow. I'm going to stop. And the next thing you know, I'm doing it all over again. It was just like, even though I didn't, like, deep down in me, I didn't want to do it.
You wanted to, this is a brain issue, So and it's a physical issue.
Right.
It's a biochemical, psychosocial disease, and that's sometimes hard for us to wrap our minds around.
Well, it's hard for people who don't understand addiction, because it's just like Susan said. They say, why don't you stop? And it's just like the other Susan said, well, if I could, I would.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense to people watching, but it doesn't make sense to us that are the alcoholic or the user. It doesn't make sense that I understand that I'm risking my kids and my life and my job and everything I hold dear, because I really do hold it dear. So people think, oh, she must not love her kids. Well, those of us that are, in recovery understand that there couldn't be anything further from the truth.
Right.
Therein lies the disease.
Yes.
But the point I was trying to make, when I asked about, did she go because she wanted to get help? There are a lot of people who believe that people who are sent to treatment by a judge or that's a waste of time or energy. And I would say there's nothing further from the truth, because what happens is, what happened to Susan is, their eyes are open. They realize there's something different, there's something better. And even if they don't get sober that time, they're going to get sober.
That's one of the biggest myths that I've discovered is that when people say, well, you have to want to change. Not necessarily. If you're avoiding jail, that's a big motivation. And if
Yeah.
you can get in there and get, a lot of times, like you said, away from influences too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because that was a big deal for me. Coming to understand, that I had to change all of that. I had to change my people. I had to change the places I was hanging out at. I had to change all of that. And CADA actually, they helped me before I ever even left treatment. They helped me get into a sober living environment to where I didn't have to go back where I came from. And so because of that, I was able to establish myself here in Shreveport, and I never did go back where I came from.
So you tell me, strength. What is strength? Well, it's somebody that shows up for the first day of recovery. I mean, they're rock stars if they can
Yeah.
make it that far.
Yeah. And I mean, it's what, there's so many of the sayings, one day at a time, keep coming back. Those are so true. You keep doing it.
Well, and I was just thinking, Maya Angelou, when you know better, you do better. And she learned that there was a different way. She just didn't know.
Yeah. So, Susan, the Tootsie Davis Family Education Program, that's brand new, right?
It is. It's a program we're really excited about. Every time we do any type of outreach where we're out in the public meeting people, we just always have mostly women, but sometimes men who come up and say, well, I have a family member who really needs help, but he's not ready, or I don't even know where my daughter is. And it's like, how can we help these people?
Yeah.
Well, we had a supporter who, her name was Tootsie Davis, and when she passed away, she left us a gift, and she wanted to use it to help family members of those struggling with substance use disorders.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
And that's important because, when someone is affected, we live in systems. We live in families. We live in systems, friendships. So one person who is addicted impacts, again, that word impacts several other lives. And many times we don't know. We may love the person. We'd have no idea what to do we?
No, and that's we want to remove every obstacle that would keep people from coming. So we provide dinner. It's a free program. And if they have children, we have a separate program in a separate room where we take the children and work with them, with educators, so that the family members can get that 15-minute educational module and then have a little bit of time to go around as a support group and discuss it.
That's wonderful. And there'll be a different educational topic each time there's the program offered.
Right, and it's even things like mindfulness, knowing the mind of your loved one that's struggling, legal issues.
Wow.
Every type of thing you might need to know as a family member.
Now, what will be the best way? Of course, you can listen to Strategies for Living, and we'll do our very best to keep you up here. But what are the other ways that people can find out about the Tootsie Davis Family Education Program?
The best way is they can call CADA at 318-222-8511 and ask for Stacy Eppers. She is running the program for us. And also follow us on Facebook. That's where we put all the new information and of everything, all of our new programs that we're trying to promote.
There you go. CADA, the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse. 1958 is the year that it all started, celebrating 60 years. The anniversary dinner a week from tonight with Maureen McCormick. Tell you more about that as we continue with Kit Gamble, with Susan Garcia and Susan Reeks, all from CADA, our life strategists, this evening here on Strategies for Living. We'll be back.
I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood.
Welcome back. Welcome back into Strategies for Living here on 101.7 FM and 710 KEEL. PLPC Carla McCormick, marriage and family therapist David McMillan, along with all of the folks from CADA. We've got Susan Reeks, we've got Susan Garcia, we've got Kit Gamble, all as our life strategists. Did I ever tell you, Carla, back in the radio days, DAZE, very first big book I ever got, well, not in this building, but I was working for KEEL in 1976, and I kept hearing people, KEEL, Kit, you remember, Kit, was 710 Spring Street.
Absolutely.
And
Larry Ryan and
Larry and the Marie Gifford back in the day. Marie was my first general manager when I got hired. But I kept hearing all of this talk about the big book, the blue book. And they talked about it with such reverence. And I went up to my friend Howard one day, and I said, "What is this book you guys are talking about?" And he said, "Give me $5 and I'll bring you one." I still have that book. I still have my first big book. I took it home and read it. Howard asked me a couple of days later, he said, "What'd you think?" And I said, "Well, I don't have a problem with alcohol, at least not right now. I haven't been hanging around the radio station long enough." But I said, "This is a great way to live life." And he pointed at me. He said, "You got it, kid. You got it." And little did I know that, the impact that would have. Another one of my friends in radio one day called me and another colleague downtown, Kit, and he said, I'm going to get sober. And I kind of looked at him and I said, "I've never seen you drunk before." He said, "No, son, you've never seen me sober."
Oh, wow. How's it going?
Yeah. So, Kit Gamble, you're the immediate past president. We've been talking about the impact of CADA tonight, the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse. You and your family, again, you say the Gamble name, you know health care. You associate it. If you're in Shreveport, Bossier City, you immediately associate it with health care and the nursing home business. And you've been involved in many businesses in addition to that. So from a business perspective and from the perspective of being a business person, how big an impact, how important is a Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse of Northwest Louisiana to a community like ours?
Well, I think it's tremendous. First of all, I think any business, it pays to give back. So if you donate to organizations like CADA, I think it just helps you get ahead because people know that your heart's in the right place. But besides that, I don't know of a single person these days who doesn't have some close friend or relative that's impacted by addiction.
Yes.
And CADA does so much work towards helping people in this community to get off of addiction and to stay off of addiction. One of the things that we do, we sponsor AA meetings and sponsor aftercare and things like that, and it just has a tremendous impact. We impact so many lives because, while we may only take care of 90 to 100, I guess, Susan, people at a time, that 90 to 100 is like every 30 days.
And it spreads out. I mean, talk about throwing a rock into a pond and watching it ripple out. The ripple out effects over 60 years of this organization, again, it's phenomenal to think about, isn't it?
It is phenomenal. It's just it does so much good in this community, and it helps so many people, and it helps so many people's children. And I think that you help a person, it's one thing, but you help their children, and boy, they appreciate it. And
absolutely.
That's the thing that I think CADA does such good work with.
And we put families back together. That's one thing that I'm so excited about. We had a booth at the Red River balloon rally, and a man came up to me with his wife and his preteen daughter and said, "I just got out of CADA 3 days ago." And there he was at an event with his family. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was really moving.
That's cool.
That is cool. So if a business person is listening to us and wants to help, wants to get involved, what's the best way for them to do that, Kit?
Well, the best way would be to call Susan, and she'll find something for them to do. They can get the word out on their business by sponsoring events like the one like the banquet, or if people don't have the money to sponsor, Susan will put them to work. Yeah. So
I love it.
there are all kinds of ways people can help CATA do a better job, and they do a fabulous job. We've got a fabulous staff. Both Susans do outstanding work, and we've got lots and lots of employees doing the same thing
at the helm. And he very much embodies. We talked about Dan Talley. And the beginning, 60 years ago. Probably Dan launched it, or in my imagination, he launched it around a kitchen table. I don't know if that's true or not, but it sounds good.
Yeah, it does.
But Bill Rose, the executive director of CATA.
Could we have a moment of silence?
I love it.
Everyone bow.
He embodies, and I told him this. I don't want to embarrass him too much, but I think he embodies the spirit of Dan Talley. I truly do.
He does. He's certainly a kindred spirit.
Yes, he really is, and I can say this for myself. After going through everything I had been through, there was, I had only up to that point, waited tables, waitressing, working in restaurants, those kinds of jobs are what you get whenever you are using and drinking a lot,
Right.
and I knew I didn't want to do that anymore, but I just didn't know about me and what could I be, what could I do, and Bill really, he could see the things in me, and he is really just kind of taken me and said, you need to do this. And
you can do this, kiddo. You can do it.
This,
yeah.
That's his special gift.
We're going to teach you how to do this. And, 5.5 years ago, I never, ever would have thought that I would be sitting here right now with the job title that I have, sober as long as I've been, or any of that stuff. And he really gave me a lot of direction, and he still does.
Owning her own home, when you talk about the business impact in our community,
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Some people that Bill has hired, there's something he sees in people, whether they have the resume for it, he sees it in them, and he brings them into the fold at CATA. And there are many people that work there that have years of sobriety. And that's one of the things that I personally love about working there is we are all beautifully flawed, and so I think we're more tolerant and understanding of each other, and it's just a great place to work.
Since 1958, it's prevention, it's education, it's treatment. Come next Wednesday, a week from today, Wednesday night, and help celebrate 6 decades of hope. The featured guest speaker, Maureen McCormick from the Brady Bunch and Dancing with the Stars. And, we should mention she is now, in addition to all that other stuff, she's a New York Times best-selling author, adding to her resume because she put out a memoir. Here's the story. And so I imagine she will tell us a bit next Wednesday night about her story.
Oh, yeah, she's a strong woman. And on that note, I'm so happy that we have a female speaker this year that can talk about the pressures that are placed on women, the pressures women that we place on ourselves to fit in. So her story is going to be fascinating. She's delightful, so easy to work with. She's really a sweet person.
All right, go to the website CATA.NWLA.org. Hit the tab that says 2018 annual dinner. You can. It's not too late. Not too late to get a ticket. You can buy an individual ticket. You can group together. Come as a group for your business. It's all there on the website. CADANWLA.org. We'll be back with more strategies with Susan and Kit. And who are you? Are you Marcia? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Little sister.
Okay. We'll be back.
Baton Rouge, waiting for a train, and I was feeling near as faded as my jeans.
You said somebody's coming dressed as Janice
That's right.
next Wednesday.
Right.
All right. Well, we'll see if she can't belt out like Janice.
Is that Janice?
That was Janice.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Welcome back into Strategies for Living, 101.7 FM, 17 Keel, PLPC. Marcia McCormick.
Marsha.
And I am marriage and family therapist David McMillan. I forgot who I was for a second. I thought I maybe one of the Partridge Family and start singing.
Oh, please
don't.
don't.
No, don't do that.
We have company.
Susan Reeks, Susan Garcia, Kit Gamble from the Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse, CADA. Been here providing prevention and education and treatment for 60 years. We'll celebrate that next Wednesday night for the annual dinner. Susan, one of the things that we have not mentioned, Susan Garcia helped us talk about the inpatient treatment, but there's many other ways to get treatment, including the outpatient treatment that CADA provides, right?
That's right. I think there are many people out there who have to take the kids to school, and they have to take care of the home, and they have to go to a job, and they can't even stop to think about how they could get treatment for their functioning or non-functioning use. And outpatient treatment is the answer. They can stay with their families, they can stay on the job, and come in for outpatient treatment to help them get through and get into recovery.
If you want to know more information about treatment that is available for adults, for teens, for families, for veterans, and alumni, good way to do that is to go to the CADA website, cadanwla.org, or the Facebook page, right?
That's right. Follow us on Facebook.
It's a great website too, and it's easy to navigate. A lot of information.
Next Wednesday evening, 2018 annual dinner, 60 Years of Hope. Maureen McCormick from the Brady Bunch, Marsha. And you know who's going to be there with her autograph pen ready.
I'm going to get her autograph.
I know you.
I'm going to have to go buy her book so I can get her to sign her book.
Kit and Susan, thank you so much for all that you do, and thank you for coming this evening here on Strategies.
And thank you for being a sponsor of our show.
Absolutely.
We appreciate it.
It's a wonderful show. We love it.
Thank you. Folks, thank you for tuning into Strategies for Living. Hope you enjoyed our program tonight as much as we did. If today were the last day of your life, you only had one more phone call that you could make, who would you call? And what would you say? Why are you waiting? Make the call for Reuben Wright and for Marcia McCormick, for Kit Campbell, for Susan Garcia, and for Susan Reeks. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. We'll see you next time here on Strategies for Living.